Allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have approval of the agenda, please? Yes. All in favor? Aye. Agenda approved. Approval for June minutes 2024.
I make the motion to approve without reading.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Approval of work order. Approval of work order for $732.50.
Motion to approve.
All in favor? Motion carried. Manager comments.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have two things to report to you today. Sadly, Bruce Goodworth, who was a 23-year member of Glendale Year-Round Board of Directors and what I call the keeper of the books, passed away. And I would just like to take this time, Denise is seated here in the front row, and I want to tell you that he will be missed and very, very hard to replace. So on behalf of the board management and staff of Glendale Year-Round, we'd like to give you your sympathies, and you know that if there's anything you need, we can be of help. You just don't be afraid to ask.
Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate it. On a lighter note, secondly, I always give a report on the delinquencies, and it got even better this month because this month we didn't spend any money trying to collect delinquencies, and we collected $3,040.67. So for the year, we spent $11,269.29, and we collected $36,623.29. And again, we improved on that by $3,040. There's one board item of interest with a board vacancy. The board is now, anyone who is interested in running for the board should contact the POA office or see me, Tom, or any of the board members. And then what we'll do is we'll take those names, we'll do background checks on them, we'll check their qualifications, and then our plan now is to make an official appointment in September. So that's all I have. Thanks.
All business. Okay. Ron, bylaws power.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I wanted to clarify a lot of things. I have a lot of questions that everybody hear me okay? Yeah. I got a big mouth, so I don't think I need to. There's been a lot of information. There's the folks who's on the committee. You raise your hand. I know you're on one. We received the information. Today, what I'd like to do is try to communicate what's happened from January 1st when we received the information from the bylaws committee and what's transpired throughout up to today. I know there's a ton of questions. I know we've got some information that was mailed. And today what I'm hoping to do is communicate only. If you notice on the letter, September 21st, we had a question and answer session. So I know there's a lot of people in the room, there's questions. We can take a few, but what I'd rather have done is give us your bullet points. I've got about 4 people that has emailed me, okay? And what we'll do is try to combine all light questions because there's a lot that's very similar, and we'll try to do the question and answers in that next month. So let's communicate this month, let's try to work together. And quite honestly, we're all here for one reason. To take a look at the bylaws, understand what's happened and what's transpired, and as a community try to adopt this. So Is everybody all right with being able to do that? We can get an email address, anything I go over today, if you see me, you send my email address. I'll send this information to you, you can look at it ahead of time. But if we can have a question and answer session, excuse me, the 21st, probably the best, okay? So, quickly put together a couple of slides here. Basically, what our goal here today is we want community involvement, we want to work together. We're all here for the same reason. It's important that we communicate. That's what we want to do today. We want to build trust. We want to have complete transparency and establish goals. Can everybody see this okay?
No, we need to.
How's that? I'll try to move. Can you grab this? Can you move that forward? Can you move this forward? Is that better? Okay, so a couple things for goals perspective. I mean, from a community standpoint, for the PPOA, as I mentioned, involvement, working together is why we're here. Secondly, to be able to communicate that, build trust, we want to make sure we have transparency, because that's important for everybody. And, establishing goals, and what we do those kinds of things, it's the bottom line is for 2024, we get results. And that's what we're all here for, right? So that said, purpose of today's agenda is for clarification. We want to go through the bylaws for the general public and kind of review the agenda. So for the action items, there are 5 things to review. On the March 5th, we received from the bylaws committee a side-by-side old bylaws, new bylaws, what the recommendation is. That's the first thing. So I want to make sure we go through that and show the public as to what we got, what we received, and what the changes have been for the bylaws committee. I think that's important. If you want a copy of it, see, I'll send you an email. Secondly, from that point, what we had done was took that information, put it in that same format, we got it here to return. And I have the final draft in green as far as what the changes have been made. The email changes were sent to Schwartz and Campbell. We received the final draft from the board, and we announced it, I believe, George, on July 20th, that we were going to send the mailing out. So that is paper which you guys received in mail in the last 10 days. For what the schedule is. So if you get a chance to look at that, you can see, the name, the signature, what your addresses are, what you identify your lot. And to clarify a little bit, if you look on here, it says lot and then parentheses S. So what that means is if you own 5 lots, put your lot numbers down. Okay. And in addition to that, as far as distribution, it can be handled at the office. It has here by phone, and what we mean by that by phone is we can't go by phone. You can send a fax over the phone, and that's for folks that just can't make it here because they come here often and maybe don't have an email address or whatever's convenient for you. You can fax it, that's also okay. But by mail or in person, certainly acceptable. So the 21st, we'll have a question and answer session, and then November 16th will be the voting session. So, is there any questions about that? Or what I know so far? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a couple. First of all, I found it's too ambiguous in phone fax and put by fax, not by phone.
We're not going to accept voting. We're not going to accept voting by phone.
Well, then you can put it in there and say there's no phone voting period. But we do accept fax facsimiles of your votes.
Okay, we'll make note of that and talk about it next meeting.
Okay. The other thing is, usually when you have a bylaw committee, and they bring proposed changes, you go through and instead of just going through them and changing it to what you want, you have changes. You should meet with the bylaw committee, give them your proposal for change. Because all you're doing is eliminating the committee.
Okay, well, that's why we're here.
What the committee sends to you is what is voted. Well, the board of directors say, we're making these changes now.
Okay, let me show you what we did, okay? So, I'm going to close this out because I know that's a big concern for everyone, and I want to make sure that we're clarifying exactly what we did. So, here on March 5th, we received this information. Okay, and everything in yellow was what had been updated by the bylaws committee. I know this is going to be painful, it's going to take a little bit of time to go through it, but I think it's important that everybody sees exactly what's transpired. So throughout the pages, you can see that a lot of this information has, oh wait. There we go. All right. I don't know why this thing's so crooked. Well, because the screen is all right, so this is the example that we received on March 5th. Turn your head a little bit. So everything in yellow on the left-hand side was changes, everything on the right-hand side was the old bylaws. Okay, there was a variety of different, you can see most of this has stayed the same within that bylaw. There had been some things struck out, we had in commas, anything in yellow that was struck out was the information that came from the bylaw committee. Is that right, Ralph? Okay, along with that, and I'll show you, if you want a copy of this, I can send it. I'm trying to do this on an angle. Sorry, guys. So I guess the point is, what I'm trying to accomplish here is to try to see the comparison part. What people see, you guys spend, the bylaws committee spent hours and hours putting this information together. So, we want to make sure that we're not, when it says, when folks, to your point where you said the changes, here's the changes that we made. So I want to make sure everybody's clear on that. I know there's been a lot of discussion about the development membership and as far as the corporation. I just want to make a note now, I want no comments, I'll have to talk about it later. See 9 votes per lot, 18 votes per acre, that's what came in the bylaws. In addition to that, you can see that a lot of things that were struck out, changes from the old. And then there was an addition. Anything in yellow was pertaining to the House Bill 1795 and all the information based on the Act 68, which that's in there. Okay. In addition to that, there were other changes. You can see where we received information that had been struck out, comments, punctuation, that kind of thing was certainly changed.
So the yellow is what was changed or added?
I'm sorry?
The yellow is what was changed?
The yellow was changed by the bylaws committee, or it was added from the existing bylaws committee? Part of the existing bylaws.
That was the suggestions. That was the suggestions.
Yes, that is what is submitted to the board by the bylaws committee.
That's correct. There were a lot of, changes, punctuation, different things, so I don't want to worry about it. It's important to see, what there was compared to what there is. was an addition about the 51%. I received a question about how that was arrived at. We'll talk more about that, at the next meeting. You can see the entire paragraph as far as when it comes to the amendments, section 1, pretty significant amount of additions that were added to this. That is pretty thorough. And then there was the appendix or appendices that had been added to this specific area or to the ending of the bylaws. All right, so that's what happened as far as in chronological order, as far as March 5th. What we did receive. Okay, the next step of that was right on April 5th, our group had got together, and all of those specific changes that were proposed, we put into the left-hand side. So basically, everything that was in yellow and everything that was changed is in this draft.
What's the green highlights?
This green highlight is what basically changed. We changed two specific entities within this agreement. The first had been the discretion of the board shall increase at the discretion of a rate of 35% per year to allow for inflation adjustments to the cost or cost of operations. Now, I know there's been a lot of discussion about that. It's very, very important to understand that this isn't, I don't support a 5% increase. I don't think it's going to for this board. It's been 3%. That's typical inflation rate on a yearly basis. This is built into the agreement because we've never changed the bylaws. And in this particular case, if we get another COVID situation, I mean, let's face it, what we're paying today, we've got a significant amount of inflation rate. So, let's all keep that in mind. We're all paying the same as the POA. So as our costs go up, there's an added there that allows us to make a change if we need it. Yes.
If the national rate inflation in this country is only 2.8, why doesn't it get down here?
Nothing here says what are you going to do with it. It's at the discretion if needed. That's what the word is.
I have a question on that. It's 3% right now, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Has it ever gone up less than 3%?
Yes. Twice, it's gone up 0.
Twice?
Twice.
How long ago?
50 years.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but the history of it is 2 times in my tenure here.
Okay, excuse me.
Sir, what's your name? What's your name?
Robert Sharp.
Thank you.
I got a question on that, 5%. I moved up here full time a year ago last April. The handbook I was given currently is 3% to 5% at the discretion of the board. Now, either the handbook you gave me, that's supposed to be the most current one, is wrong, or you're missing something.
Well, I appreciate that, and this is the purpose of the meeting. We'll make note of that. Things that need to change. We're changing bylaws. If there's something bylaws that need to change, we'll certainly.
I understand that, but if you already have in the bylaws for the two, you know,
Yes.
these,
I'm gonna.
said 3 to 5%. You already got that if you do it. You don't need to.
The old bylaws limited at 3%.
No, it is, my book has 3% and 5%. I'll read it, sure.
Well, yeah, please. The bottom line to that is, we made a provision in case it's needed. Okay? And the purpose of this meeting is that, again, things like that, if there's something in a booklet that needs to be updated, then that's the next phase of this. And we need to get this right for the same reasons. So, we'll certainly make note of that. I don't know that. We'll look into it. Copy the old bylaws? I do.
George. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of.
Yeah, the current operating bylaws, in quotations, after 1999, the maximum assessment per lot is at the discretion of the board of directors shall increase at a rate of 3% per year to allow for inflation and adjustment to cost of operation. The recommended changes would change that verbiage from 3%, which is what it's specifically at right now, to 3 to 5%.
Correct. Did we get that clarified?
Oh, yeah, I'll reread it, but I'm pretty sure what says three.
Please, if there's something there to we missed, that's why we're here. We're all here to work together. All right, so, with that said, now we've gotten to that point where we've had an attorney, and what's basically is we've taken the information that has been months worth of work, now we gotta get this thing ready for our done. I can, and again, if there's anything anyone wants to look at, in Pittsburgh, the attorney is Fortune Campbell. Apologize, I have the wrong glasses. So what he's done was, there's two different specific areas. One in the voting process, the yellow paragraph was added by the bylaws committee. It said that, I think this section is a bit too wordy, because there's language of reference to other provisions that are irrelevant to the, he said he's crossed this out, he thinks it's unnecessary, to add additional language which could be used, should be used. I think the removing of irrelevant provisions protecting GYR potentially ambiguity as to its obligations. Sorry. So, with this information, he has gone through, there are two individual sections that he felt was pertinent to change from a legal standpoint. At that point, then he's gone through and he's made changes. He's pointed out what his recommendation is. And he's crossed this off as far as what he felt should be removed, etc. So what was in yellow, and let's face it, we have to rely on this firm to make sure that we've got our eyes and crossing our T's. So I want to make sure this is shared also. He's made some changes as far as wording here. I got this in a PDF, so it's no longer it's not in yellow anymore. So those were the physical changes that he had recommended. And you can see there's one that had been crossed off in the amended section. He had made some changes to the wording, 2, 3. So beyond the bylaws committee, there are 5 physical changes between the board of the POA and also the attorney as far as physical change. That final revision was updated on 6/17, and it was the preparation of the bylaws committee and also the attorney. One major change, and I put this in green for Dave as the board. Initially, if you look at the first proposal, Cindy, can you make sure I'm saying this correctly?
Yes.
I believe that there was 9 votes per lot, 18 votes per acre.
That is correct on the initial.
We made this change because, let's face it, we have we changed it to 3 votes per lot and 5 votes for undeveloped land. And we did that, Sydney, for the reason of 51%, correct?
That is correct. And for you all to understand, whenever it comes to bylaw voting and also voting actions on the board, it's not just that panel of the board members for the voting. That's 51%. And really, that number, all in all, is arbitrary. Developer rights always exist. They're protected by law. So the developer will have rights to having the undeeded lots and a percentage of the votes. Whether that was remained at 9 and 18 or 3 and 5, that simply adds to the total cumulative votes. It does not change percentages as far as votes. It's not swayed toward the developer or not. The only thing that has an impact on that is paying members. If you choose to pay and you are currently, you are a paying member of the community. If you choose not to, you do not have voting eligibility. That's where that impact is felt. If there is 1,000 paying members and the developer holds 1,000 votes, it's still 1,001 votes to get to that 51. If they have the developer only has 500 votes, it just changes that number to 750. Does not change percentage-wise. So I know that was a lot of questions on that. When it comes to these votes, though, it allows for the developer to have a say in a community that isn't fiduciarily responsible to the community. Whatever that developer's funds are now at stake due to the fact that there is a significant portion of the community that's not actually paying into funds, it allows them to have that ownership for it because the developer is paying the money into that community. So that's why we changed it to a more realistic figure of the 3 and 5. But I do want to assure everybody, as far as the percentages is voting, it does not impact that 51%. That percent is locked in to whatever the total eligible votes are. For the community, though, for yourselves, for all of your neighbors, that just is more incentive to ensure that we are up to date on our UAPs and our dues, and we are active members of the community. That's what impacts that 51%, not so much the developer rights. Yes, sir.
My only question is, why not just change the developers to 1 vote per lot and 1 vote per acre instead of giving them more than what we have?
Because the developer is the one that is instrumental in creating these lots in the first place and sank the initial capital into the development. So therefore, they have rights protected under law to secure that initial investments into it. Obviously, it's the developer that comes in and has the maintenance equipment and a lot of the interest in the success of this community. So those rights are protected by law.
I agree, he needs to protect his investment because that helps all of us, more people, more money coming in. But the thing is that he should have sort of a conflict of interest for him because he shouldn't have to vote on the bylaws. He shouldn't be allowed to vote on the bylaws. We're working the bylaws for Glendale year round.
Yes, but the bylaws also protect the interest of the community itself. Therefore, if the community itself goes bankrupt, the developer is out, and also all of our members are out. Well, so there goes our road work, there goes our common areas. So therefore, those protections are in place for that reason.
He still shouldn't have quantity of votes more than any other landowner in here.
So we've been operating for years, the old system at 9 and 18. Remember that.
Well, it's not a question about how you did it for years. We're talking about how you're going to do it down the road.
He's, the city said he's protected by law. That's why I said.
So the law says the developer has more votes for voting on bylaws than what it does for any landowner.
The bylaws give the developer the right to is specified. You have 2 grantee members, property owners association when you purchase property, and developer for unpurchased property. As far as the future goes, every time a new campground up near the dog park, they put those new slates in there. Every time somebody purchases one of those, he loses ownership. And all the development, that was entitled to 9 votes per acre. Once that acreage got developed, that 9 went away. And the 3 won't even apply either. Okay, now it's been reduced to 1. So I guess, make a long story short, it significantly decreased the developer's interest in the voting procedure.
Okay, how many lots and acres does the developer have?
That was spelled out in July 18th, but that has drastically changed. Well, it hasn't changed because we haven't developed the bylaws. Once we develop the bylaws, I can give you the answer. But I can't now because if they formally are not done.
You know, how many lots does the developer have?
George mentioned, once these get developed, I think we can, let's move on. Okay? Please hold your questions. If there's additional, we'll take forward. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, the green, we've taken bylaws committee and also the attorney information we put together. What you have that you received in the mail within the last 10 days is that exact same information. So, everybody clear on that? I just wanted to make sure what's transpired. I want to make sure it's clear what's transpired. We made 5 physical changes, board and attorney based on, the recommendation he provided. The bylaws committee has made significant changes, to what we should see in yellow. So I think it's important that we, communicate that here. The last thing that I have in this topic is, there was a statement about a conflict of interest. Everybody got a copy of that in the mail. That once this is all approved, each one of us will all sign this.
One more question on,
Sir, what's your name and welcome?
M161 Greg Gallery.
161, and what's your name?
Greg Gallery. GALLRY.
Thank you.
So my question on the bylaws, under Robert's Rules of Order, each bylaw has to be read for 3 meetings and then the third meeting you vote on. Now what you're doing is by just making it to discuss it on September 21st is there's no, all right, maybe we the public doesn't like this particular bylaw. And now you can't change it because you're having to vote to start at the 21st meeting. You have no time for any discussion on the actual bylaws and what really needs changing and what doesn't. Under Robert's Rules of Order, you're supposed to read the bylaws at 3 meetings and vote in the third meeting.
Can you respond to that, sir?
Yes, the reason, with the timing that we are working through this process, beginning in July, we did send out the bylaws to all residents of the UA. That counts as the first. September will also be the second full review of the bylaws. And that'll be the full in-depth questions and answers. The reason we put off questions and answers is because we have a lot of questions that have been mailed to us already. A lot of them, as Ron mentioned, are redundant. They're also very similar questions. And we expect a lot more questions to be coming in, as well as what input we have from the forum today. We're going to take all that information, consolidate that information, and we'll have an executive session to finalize any responses to those. So we aren't wasting anyone's time. We could sit here for 4.5 hours and answer questions one by one. Often, probably the same question from different parties is worded slightly differently. So the first notification of the full draft for voting bylaws was number 1, sent to all residents. Number 2 will be in September. Number 3 will be in the November, prior to the voting procedure. So we are in accordance to the fact. It is stated in the Robert's Rule that it has to be presented at committee meetings or to the community at large. So therefore, we still have those 3 notifications going out, and that's the reason we didn't set it 3 months apart for it. Does that answer your question, sir?
No, there's 3 notifications. Is it the same as must be read at 3 meetings? That's the difference. You're changing reading in a meeting, so we send out notifications, and you're still not allowing the discussion on each particular bylaw change. You bring it up as to why or why not you want these changes.
Do you want to set in look at each and every one of those? I think that's the reason we did what we did. The very first draft was looked at here. Do you realize what that means?
You may want to say time, but you still got to follow the law. We're saying right at the beginning of your bylaw changes, you're going to follow Robert's Rule of Order. And Robert's Rule of Order, whether you accept it or not, is what every organization has to accept at every meeting?
We will go back and go through Robert's rules to ensure that we're finding everything applicable, and we can have a response for you on that.
Yeah, I think that's the best. Thanks for your help.
With this one? Well, not the suggestion.
If you could, prior to going into any other old business or new business, Denise would like to have a word with the community as well.
I just wanted to thank everybody that supported my husband through all the years that we've been here. Been here 25 years, so we've been volunteering and doing stuff the entire time. Bruce was a really good man, and he did some good things. He never had his own personal agenda, you know. But anyway, people in his very missed. We're having a celebration of life ceremony. Well, not ceremony, it's just a little get together at my house at 2 o'clock. We're at 152 Delmont Road, and you all are welcome to come. He really enjoyed everyone that backed him and got along with them, and he also enjoyed the ones that didn't. They kept him spunky, they kept him busy, and he just loved everything about Glendale here. And I just wanted to thank you. And I'm having a heck of a hard time looking at this empty chair. So I'm gonna head on home. I've got company coming from out of town, so. Thank you, everyone. Bill, your whole family, just, you got it right. Oh.
All right, moving right along. New business. The next start.
Kind of, over there, your appendix A, which talks about compensation. We have a job description for the board of directors, which is unheard of. If you want to hire someone, you have to be able to interview them and know what the job is they're going to be doing. So you have to have a job description, first of all. The next thing is, what is the current compensation right now for the board? They get their water bill paid and their dues paid. The entire water bill or just the base? The base. So when you all took this job, you all knew that's what you were going to get paid, right? So all of a sudden you've got an appendix A, and you want to now look at some other place and decide what's fair compensation. We don't even know what your job description is. How can we say what is fair compensation? And why should you vote yourself fair compensation? That's a conflict of interest. So this whole thing is fancy.
Let me take a crack at some of that. I wrote the job descriptions for everybody who was employed.
There are job descriptions for the board.
No. There are job descriptions for employees of the BOA.
Okay.
It wasn't necessary.
That is the board.
Riddell said he didn't need a job description, or Riddell died. But he was.
We don't seem to ever know who's in charge of the roads. We don't seem to know who to ask about anything. It just seems to be this murky pond where whoever pops their head up might answer the question.
Well, in answer to your question, we didn't write a job description for the board because the duties of the board of directors are spelled out in the bylaws. There's like 2.5 pages of duties, what they can do, what they can't do.
That's in here. So actually, yes, it's in the article of incorporation and the covenant is where it's spelled out correctly, what the
So why all of a
responsibilities
sudden
are.
are we getting into compensation? Where is that coming
Well,
from?
I'm
We're getting
I'm confused on where you're seeing the compensation. The board
It
is,
says compensation will be determined by benchmarking against similar positions in comparable organizations. So it sounds like you're gonna go out and find some place that's like this and say, oh, they pay their board $25,000 a year, and we're gonna do that. How can this be put on to this?
that would be actually
When
something
we're
that was
having
voted
the
by the community at large, if that was the case.
They just have to waste paper, because nobody can go to that.
No, it doesn't even look like you want our vote, because at the bottom, it says it's approved by the board. That means you're voting your own salary raise, which is a conflict of interest. Yeah, as long as it says approved by the board, date such and such. Doesn't say anything about us voting.
I'm still confused. I see that document, I don't know where you're referencing.
What, if I got something we don't have?
You're reading from the conflict of interest policy, conflict of interest and compensation policy, which is a subsection appendix to the bylaws that we're voting on. This conflict of interest was asked for by the committee members. This is a generic conflict of interest policy. So allows.
Why would it detach? Why do we even need it if we're not going to be doing it?
It was asked for due to the makeup of the board and the close-knit community that we have here. There are relatives seated on the board, there are family members seated on the board.
The issues I see with the board is that when a position opens, it seems like somebody finds a neighbor or a friend or they've got this across the street and they put him into this position. And then when they pull the vote, there's only 2 names on the ballot. So you're voting for 2 jobs and the only 2 people available are the 2 names of their friends. So we're not even given an opportunity to pick somebody else.
We,
Well, but that was,
Yesterday,
I have to correct you on that, ma'am, because we opened up voting and nomination 3 months prior to the last voting period. And there was only 2 names submitted. We cannot compel anyone to vote or to nominate themselves. We are not nominating individuals for the board.
Well, how can we have a fair chance at voting for someone else if there are no names? Somebody asked could they add a name to the ballot before it was voted on. You guys said, no, it's got to be 30 days before. Why? Why?
To allow the rest of the community to know who that name is.
We don't do background checks, we don't run credit checks and get them. You want to be able to make the board of directors accept contracts from us with absolutely no maximum limit. You don't say, oh, if I want to spend over $20,000, somebody on the board can approve it. No, without even asking us. It's our money.
And that is the purpose of the elected board.
There should be a limit here. You say on here that they have the authority to write contracts and put us into debt. We need to have a limit. There has to be something where it cannot just be the boys.
but that's, we have to vote people onto the board that are gonna uphold what we want. That's why we vote. So we need more people to get involved so that we have a choice of people and not just 2 willing to do it. So that's who gets voted for. If that is, I'm the first one, I call a spade, that is not the board's problem. That's a community problem.
Right?
Thank you. Thank you. He just announced earlier that he's gonna be an open position. He told everybody, we have people.
That's some kind of input. If you're going over $20,000, $30,000, we should be able to say, no, we don't want
You did have the input by voting for the board member.
Yeah, 30 days.
Yeah, but we don't even, that's what I'm saying. Who do you think was elected here based on majority votes?
Everyone.
No one.
Everyone.
In January.
No, because there were two names and two positions.
No one else.
Those were the only two willing people to step up and nominate.
Nobody allowed questions. Because this is the first year, they did not allow nominations from the floor on election day. And nobody was given prior notice of that until the meeting before. Because people were going to make nominations from the floor on election day. This year, we were not allowed. Any other year, we were always allowed. That's just a talking. And I will tell you this too, when open seats come on the board, I have run for the board, never one time was I approached or asked to take an empty seat on that board. Not one. I know.
And there are no women, I noticed that there are no women. There was one.
And that's calling a spade a spade. Sorry, that's calling a spade a spade.
305. I was telling you, when you got in the city, there was an empty seat. How come the runner-up didn't get it instead of you? You was picked.
The runner-up from the previous election?
Yeah.
It is in the covenant and the articles of incorporation that when a vacancy mid-election is in play, happens, that the board will appoint until the next election period. That is in the covenant and articles of incorporation. So that is legally what we operate under as the board.
I don't think it's fair.
So who made that
So they can pick anybody.
They can only appoint until the next regularly scheduled election. That is correct, yes. So it is on the board to appoint someone in the best interest of the community.
That needs to change your bylaws. Because whoever runs should.
That's not a bylaw question. That is the articles of incorporation.
I think it's actually what we touched on before. You said about if the developer goes bankrupt,
Correct.
okay, and, or whatever, the POA, you're bankrupt. Is that really such a bad thing for us?
Yes,
Why?
because who's going to then take care of the roads, the common
Open it
areas?
up, take the gate down, open it up, and Test township, my township, come in here and take care of it.
That,
You're not gonna get any more tax dollars than you're getting now. 23 miles of roads, pool, all the common areas, you're not gonna come here. They have no interest.
They have to. It's township.
they do not have to. They have to vote on it.
But they're going to every 2 months they have to.
I mean, I have, why would we pay standard local tax in line?
If we could, please go to one person speaking and we'll keep it on subject. Taxes is not a question for the board. We don't
What
let
do
the
we get more
taxes.
taxes? What I'm asking.
I could not, that is not part of the scope of my position here to answer the question on taxes.
School tax went up 10% this year.
That would be something that you have to talk
And what about the
about.
roads? We don't get anything.
If we could, certainly have a question.
I
ran along. Sorry.
Or that's it.
Yes, sir.
Contrary, Mike, you 1,500. What I want to ask you is, when you had that up there, and you said developers get so many votes, and property owners get so many votes, why don't you just have 1 and 1? If you own 5 lots, you get 5 votes. If you own 2 lots, you get 2 votes.
That is the way it works for grantee members. If you purchase property in the POA, in the grounds of the POA, by law, you pay dues and you are granted a vote per due paid lot. That is a change that was made. It was submitted by the committee that it was to the deeded owner, regardless of the number of lots. However, it was changed due to the fact that we require dues to be paid. If you are paying dues on 4 lots, you are entitled to 4 votes.
Yes.
That is exactly how it is. Yes. The developer, as I stated previously, there's laws protecting developers for POAs, HOAs, urban communities. That is written into law outside of just our bylaws, and it is to protect developers' rights.
Shouldn't need to be a law, you own property.
You did a vote.
And you do, absolutely, I 100% agree with you. I own 4 lots in here, I have 4 votes,
I have 2.
and you have 2 votes. So we're in agreement, sir.
I just did what I saw 9 and.
No, that is for, so that is, grantee membership is us, we are grantee members, we bought a property in Glendale year round. Developer membership is specifically that, the developer and the corporation that developed this community fronted all the costs, accepted all the risks in building this community, and that's why they're protected under law to have the rights on the undeveloped land and also the in development lots. As soon as it was explained as well, as soon as those developed lots are sold, that reverts to a grantee membership. So if you purchase one of the new lots that's being developed, then he loses 3 votes on that 1 lot, and you'll get 1 vote. Because he's spending the money to put the money into it. He's developing that lot. He's taking it from bare ground, uninhabitable bare ground, zoning it, permitting it, constructing it, putting in wastewater, abatement, everything. That cost is on the developer, not on us.
Yes.
That's why the developer has those protections in place and has a say in those lots that he is putting the money into. It really, once that lot is sold, it makes no difference. And as my example was before, whether the developer has 9 votes per lot, or 3 votes per lot, or 1 vote per lot, the only difference is in the percentages is the percentage of paying members in there. That's the only thing that sways the percentage, not so much whether they have 1, 3, or 9 votes.
Yes. Percentages doesn't matter.
Correct.
100%.
Exactly. But they have to have that fiduciary protection in place, saying that, hey, we are entitled to this percentage of the votes based on the fact that we are putting up the money.
And that's a better investment than the stock.
Well, I would think they're equally as poor returns right now. Does that answer your question though? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Joanna. I have questions, totally different. How many work in the office and how many work outside? I see one gentleman outside.
Not the old guy.
This is too big of a place to have one guy cutting grass.
Where's Steve?
He's injured. He's injured.
Well,
So he's
They all good.
He should be back in another week.
They all good. Why did you not replace him for that? We don't have, let's face it, we don't have enough people here to make it work like.
It started off, he was gonna be down for a week, 10 days. And the more he went back to the doctor, the more swelling went, the longer it went.
My question is, yes, I want to say, why don't we have more men working, or women? If women aren't that, I can have grass.
Money,
Go on.
I got enough, I'll even 2 guys. All the way in the back, sir.
Yes, I just want to ask you a question concerning, the road monies and stuff. You get any feedback from Justin, what township on the road?
No, we don't get any type of funding.
So either township refunds you X amount for needed roads.
No, because we're engaged.
For students.
Yeah.
Well, I understand.
You don't have to be.
Well, I understand that you need to say a students.
We don't need to be. Look at these.
Well, yeah, take the eight down. You write go for it around here.
Yes.
You won't be able to once you take the eight.
Right.
You what?
You won't be able to write yourself or around in here if it's an unpaid student.
Push back to
Your question, sir? Is there a legal way to go to each township and ask them for a refund on so much of the taxes? Have you ever checked on it?
We have not, I don't foresee that as a viable option, but we can absolutely reach out to Chesapeake White Township and ask that question.
Because there might be
something we have to do. Yeah, so much every year.
Well, the community is not collecting the tax.
No, they were.
Yes.
And we're not getting any benefit from our taxes to the roads and everything that we're spending. So I think you should check that out, see if you can get something back.
Can I just give you an example? We called the tax office because we thought we were overpaying for our taxes. And they said the lots in here are valued at $50,000 a piece. Now, we have a property for sale. We put up over 20, 25, I think one person's come to look at it. You aren't getting anywhere near $50,000 for a lot, but that's what we're being taxed at.
Correct.
Nothing for those taxes.
Yeah, and just to answer that, I'll share my personal experience as well. Whenever I purchased the most recent home I have in here, the taxes were completely out of line as well. There is a process. You go through the Cambria County Courthouse. You have to file for a tax, you do the interview and file for a hearing on it. So then you submit all your documentation, appraisals, and things like that. And the result, I was able to lower my tax bill within 5,000. So therefore, it is on the individual property owner to go to the courthouse.
That would be information that would be greatly appreciated by the community if you would provide that. That's something that would say, wow, we're doing a great thing here.
Yes, and if it is a widespread thing, I'll reach out to the Cambria County Courthouse and see if is there a blanket appraisal rate that they are going by. But it's still going to be on that individual property owner to then adjudicate those hearings and then request the tax rate. In the back, as well.
I agree, he's exactly right, I did the same thing. When we moved into our house, the taxes were outrageous. We went through the steps, we researched, and we told